All right, everybody. Well, thank you for coming. This is our second installment of the Memoirs Group, Memories of Our Lives. We had a great time a couple of weeks ago, and we're looking forward to some wonderful selections in today's presentation as well. So as is our habit, I am going to be quiet, which is always a good thing, and I'm going to hand things over to Linda Good, who is the kind of the unofficial ringleader of this group. So Linda, they are all yours.
Okay. Want to thank everybody who is here with us today. We have a lot of members of our memoir group, but we have some people that we see at VINE occasionally who we're trying to pull into our memoir group. We have a great time together. We continue to meet. We're currently meeting on Zoom on Tuesdays from 11 till usually around 12:30 or 1. And we've been meeting Thursdays at Spring Lake Park from 10 in the morning till 1, sometimes 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We all share our memoirs. We inspire one another with our stories. And so we hope today that those who are listening will also enjoy the stories, maybe be inspired by them. And we hope that you will comment or ask questions of our presenters. After each person presents, I will ask for 3 responses from the audience before we move on to the next speaker reader. So we're going to start today. Let me give you an overview. We're going to have Roger is going to do 2. Roger Stouffer will give us 2 readings. I know one is called Money, Sex, and Lies, but the other one is kind of a surprise today, so we'll see what that is. I'm going to read 2 poems today, one called Dip Goes the Paddles about kayaking, and the other called The Quilt of Life that I wrote when Lisa Coons died. And then we'll have Beverly Stouffer come in. Next we'll have Roger come back and do his Money, Sex, and Lies. Then we'll have Beverly talk to us about what makes her happy. And then I will read The Quilt of Life. And then Kathy actually will tell us her story about how smoking saved her life. Then Barbara Keating has an interesting story for us entitled Non Sequitur, and Everyday Life. And we will conclude with an addition. And this is Laura Bealey, who read this just last week at Memoirs. And we all were so enthusiastic about her reading that we're happy that she can share it more with a larger group. So without further ado, I am going to turn it over to Roger, who is really taking Anita Dietrich's place.
Yeah, and I'm going to make one little correction. Okay. I'm not going to do the Money and Sex. I'm just going to read it. So, in Arizona, I wrote this memoir about 5 years ago. There are a lot of us seniors who winter out in Arizona. Occasionally, we're a little slow when we buy something to get our credit card out or to get the right amount of money. Young clerks become impatient. And that's what this story is about. It's titled, What We Have Here is a Failure to Communicate. Few things are more frustrating than a breakdown in communication. This is particularly true when the communication is important or critical. When you're experiencing chest pains and call 911, it's scary if the first responder opens with, "What's up, bro?" Less serious, but still troubling, are situations like the one I had Saturday morning while buying popcorn at the Harkin Theater. The movie was about to start. The theater was filling, and my wife wanted popcorn and a Coke. When the serving girl asked, "What do you want?" I anticipated trouble. Speaking slowly, loudly, and clearly, I responded, "I'd like a medium-sized popcorn and a medium Coke." At this point, I expected her to fill my order. She didn't. Instead, she gave me that look. if you reach the age where the first digit is 7 or 8, I suspect you've had that book too. It says, that old fart's senile. She followed the look by stringing together 7 words in one syllable. Try that. I cannot adequately imitate it, but it went something like, "One up good for a buck." She followed, when I said, "I'm sorry, young lady, I have no idea what you just said," she gave me the look again, but this time with a much higher degree of certainty, and repeated her previous response a bit faster. Pronouncing each word as a standalone sentence, I responded, "I'm in a hurry. I would like a medium Coke and medium popcorn." She gave her head that little turn and drop and said, "Oh my God," charged me $11 and walked away. On some occasions, when I have had that similar experience, I've given the serving person what my wife refers to as the talk. The talk includes the fact that my mind is fine, that clear communication is necessary, and that courtesy is a requirement for all employees who serve the public. When I conclude, they are convinced I'm nuts. That's it. Complete.
Yay, Roger.
Ah, so true.
Okay, I want to hear 3 questions or comments or how this relates to an experience in your life.
Roger, have you ever done the lecture to someone and how did they react?
I have done the lecture at Best Buy in Arizona, and Deb was a little embarrassed, I think. I was having trouble punching the numbers in for the credit card. He reached over and grabbed the card out of my hand and said, "Whoa, son." He said, "What have you achieved in life?" And I said, "You're clerk, are you a student?" He said, "No." I said, "Well, you should be. You have a lot to learn." And so my wife was a little embarrassed, I think. Well, that felt kind of good.
I
Good
was.
question.
Okay.
Roger, where did you
Yes.
find a Coke and pop for as cheap as $11 at a movie?
That's a
They
good
were
question.
medium. They weren't large.
It was, you had to, here's the deal. You had to buy a T-shirt that said Harkin Theater on it, and you had to wear it to the movie. And the T-shirt was kind of made out of plastic, and that cost $20. But we went to a lot of movies. Then you got a discount on the ticket and on the treats. So, that was a great question. $11. I'm of the vintage that when I took a girl for a date, the tickets were 60 cents. I bought hers, by the way.
Is that total or each?
Yeah, each. You probably went down here to the Grand Theater a bit, Mike, I bet, and the town and the state. My late wife worked there, so we got, you probably know Nort Rosen managed all 3 theaters.
The Grand. Wasn't it the
Grand.
Grand?
Yeah, the Grand is where we should work. But, yeah, I love movies. I still love movies.
Roger,
That's one of the fun things about this group. When we start talking about movies or books, forget it. We're going to talk for a long time.
Roger, you seem to have a unique ability to find girlfriends and wives who have extra benefits.
Yeah, what now?
Your
I know you're going to-
girlfriend,
Kathy, I know you're trying to get me in trouble. I'm going to be very careful here. Just like Biden is going to be tomorrow night, I'm going to be cautious.
Okay, I'm going to move us on to our second reading, which is a poem that I wrote in May of 2016. It's called Dip Go the Paddles. The perfect day out on the lake, seated in my kayak, dip go the paddles from one side to the other. The lake is smooth with barely a ripple until a motorboat passes and creates undulating waves, causing the kayak to bob up and down. Above me, there are blue skies with a few scattered cotton ball clouds, while warm, bright sunshine beats down on my bare limbs. Below me, fish can be seen through the transparent water. Some minnows, some fingerlings, and occasionally a big catchable fish. Dip go the paddles in the alternating rhythm of one up, one down, sometimes eliciting a splash of cool water. Dip go the paddles, propelling me through the stillness as I circumnavigate the lake. On the shore, people are scattered. Some are outside grilling. Some are on docks throwing out lines in hopes of a fish dinner. Children wade into the wet, splashing adult supervisors still on the shore. Dip go the
I'll call you
paddle
back later.
as I sing to myself a song of sunshine, love, and spirit, alone in my peaceful solitude in this cathedral of nature.
Yay!
Well,
Bravo!
Let's get 3 comments or questions from people.
Well, Linda, I know that you do the 5 chains of Jefferson
5
every
legs
year.
on a chain.
And
Yes.
have you completed them all now, or did you have one left to do?
No, I completed them all.
Good for
I did
you.
that before my eye surgery, so I knew I could get them all in. So
I think that's marvelous. Does everybody know that she kayaks around all the lakes that are connected to her? Are you on West Jefferson?
I'm on East Jeff.
East Jeff. And then she goes west.
Mhm. Okay, another comment or question?
Linda,
Linda,
Yeah,
I've
I've
only,
Go ahead, Bob.
your description sounds so peaceful, with the one exception of when a motorboat goes by. And I'm wondering, and I know that sometimes you kayak all morning or all afternoon. Have you ever been way far away from your own dock with a storm coming up? What is, I love, you know,
I
that's
have
always
been-
my fear when I'm out on the water, you know.
Yeah, you know, when you're connected to so many lakes, even a lake like East Jefferson, it can be very calm on one side and then you get to the other side and it's not so calm. There was one instance where I got to the other side of my lake and the waves and the wind were so strong that I couldn't go forward. There was a man working on his dock. So I just said, excuse me, can I put my kayak in here and would you give me a ride home? And he did. And there was another time when I was coming back from kayaking on Swedes Bay, and that was very calm. But when I got back into East Jeff, there was quite a wind and wave action coming from Middle Jeff into East Jeff. And I paddled and paddled so strong, and I kept getting caught in the lily pads. And I thought I was going to be stuck there all night. And I thought, oh, here I am in my bathing suit with my life jacket on. It's going to be a long, cold, buggy night. But I made it out of there and I made it home. So good question. One never knows when you're kayaking what you're going to encounter.
And Linda, you're really skilled with figurative language.
Yes.
You appeal to all of our senses. Do you take pictures and can you reconstruct these events that people on the dock, you know, the waves? Can you see those if you want to right now?
Yes, when I read this poem, it brings back all those memories. And it's, you know, I see them every year. It's not like it's a novel occurrence every year. It's pretty repetitive stuff, but yes,
That's wonderful.
I do see those images.
Well, we did have a little twist this year. I chastised Linda about going out alone without a cell phone. So I made her notify us when she left and when she got home. And she was a good girl about that. So,
Okay, Roger, we want to hear from you again. Money, sex,
Oh.
and lies.
This is a little longer and I hope interesting. During my early years on this planet, I had no clear-cut goals. As a youngster, I didn't have dreams of living in castles, Cadillacs in my garage, making frequent trips abroad, or owning a closet filled with Houtschaffner marked suits. If the gauge in my 19 gas gauge in my 1948 Plymouth registered over 1/4 of a tank, I considered myself upper class. Hidden deep in my brain are some vague thoughts about my pipe dreams from long ago. These were not specific, but included driving a nice car with a pretty girl sitting next to me. It seems now that those unfocused, muddled, fuzzy thoughts about securing wealth developed a form as I experienced the concrete situations that gave them a life. For example, 1 year of living in Sept Center proved to me that my future dreams for living quarters did not include renting a room in a building where hundreds of males and shared toilets, showers, television, and meals. The remainder of my college years, I lived in shared quarters off campus, and some real dives in the ghetto in Minneapolis. These experiences, too, helped me to clarify what I didn't want. After 1 year of renting a dilapidated little house in Stewart, Minnesota, during my first year of marriage, Carol and I rented a new 2-bedroom trailer in Brownton for $80 a month. That's likely when my dreams began to take shape. After we installed a window air conditioner given to us by my mother-in-law, we could keep that house in the cool in the summer and warm in the winter. It was heavenly. When Carol became pregnant and I took my next step up the stairway toward, then I took my next step up the stairway toward the floor of capitalism. I bought a $10,000 whole life insurance policy from Francis Lockwood, a sales rep with Northwestern Mutual Life. My mother-in-law had sent him to visit with me. The purchase was completely contrary to all of my previous financial practices. I'd always argued against life insurance. It seemed stupid. The sole purpose of money was to exchange it for things I wanted. I wouldn't want or need new cars or tickets to go for football games if I was dead. I believe this purchase opened the door to the evil desire to accumulate stuff, especially money. I like to blame my mother-in-law for all of this. After I surrendered on the life insurance, she knew I was vulnerable, and she regularly set traps for me. When we moved to Mankato, we rented a nice little duplex on Grand Avenue for $90 a month. I loved it. If the furnace quit working, the toilet plugged, the key wouldn't open the door, we called the landlord, and he had it repaired. Then my mother-in-law introduced us to Dean Fay. He sold real estate. I warned him. You seem like a nice man. I said, don't waste your time with me. I'm broke. Lucille said, my mother-in-law, don't worry about me. I might be able to help. I have some money in savings and could give you a little loan for the down payment. That thought set me off. A panic attack followed. My heart raced, my armpits soaked, my shirt and voice quivered, and I said, I'm not borrowing money to buy a house. We're doing just fine here. 3 months later, I owed my mother-in-law $3,000, Their family was in a little rambler at 140 Welcome Avenue in Mankato. The second I became a homeowner, I was brave for all the financial schemers in town, especially those slick retirement investment salesmen. Carl Shane, a good friend now, but the salesman for Minnesota Mutual Investments. He must have monitored new home purchases. He was at my door trying to entice me to financially prepare for my retirement before the paint variety was there. He was a great guy and a smooth talker. When he left, I decided not to buy the boat I wanted. Instead, I started saving for retirement. That made no sense at all. I was 27 years old and giving up tomorrow's boat, prepare for something that might never happen. This was the end of carefree living for me. I now had insured life, owned a home, and was saving for the future. Somehow the one step at a time stairwell leading to capitalism had become an escalator that I couldn't escape from. My whole life changed. I bought a station wagon, started reading investment magazines, and even considered becoming an Amway salesman. I'm convinced my mother-in-law, thank you, Lord. I'm convinced my mother-in-law had this whole thing planned. She found money. We paid $18,200 for that new 940 square foot Rambler. We saved $1,200 on the purchase price by painting the entire interior ourselves, planting the grass seed in the yard, purchasing the flooring ourselves. That was the first step on my learning curve about negotiations. We wanted to make this home into our home. To do this, we painted the basement walls pink, red pink, and the stairs gray. Well, this appealed to us and likely didn't have a broad-based appeal. That didn't make much difference to us because we planned to live there forever. That changed when developers started to build apartments across the street. We lived there for 3 years and managed to retrieve our investment when we sold the property. Since the offer we accepted had a contingency, that required us to wait to close the sale and until the purchasers sold their home. We sat on pins and needles until that transaction was complete. When we moved into a new house on 304 Emerson Lane, we were determined this house was to become our permanent home. Little did we know. By the way, I lied about the sex to keep you listening. My mother-in-law taught me that trick too. That's it. I'm all done.
Roger, I'm curious. Did you ever tell your mother-in-law you were right? Thank you.
I was right.
Yeah. Did you ever tell your mother-in-law that thank you for the good advice that you didn't appreciate the first time around?
Sadly, I just kept working her. But she did. Here's what happened, Barb. When I married Bev, she fell in love with Bev. And she asked Bev if she could adopt her. And so that made up for all the little things I did that weren't so nice.
Oh, good. So thank you, Bev, for making up for Roger's deficiencies.
And she continued to be part of our lives.
Good.
She would take things out of the drawer, like pictures of trips we'd been or pictures of the kids, take them to her bridge class, and then she would bring them back and stick them back in the drawer.
Oh, that's nice.
She had our trees trimmed one time when we were on a vacation. And I think she thought Roger needed some help.
Actually, she was very bossy, and early in our marriage, I had to tell her, no more. If we're going to come over here, you're going to have to not be telling us everything to do. So, but that really helped the relationship, and I do. Right now, I just feel really good about her. She took care of the kids, did so many things for us.
Good. Good.
Roger, I have a question.
Sure.
You mentioned that you had a rental home, and then you bought a home, and then you bought another home. How
Yes.
many homes have you been in since you started this life of marriage and family?
That's a really good question. I'm gonna have to count 1, 2, 3, 4, only 5.
Only 5.
Well, not counting 2 cabins.
Oh,
Yeah, 1, 2, 3. Is that right, Bill? And 5, 7 with the cabins. But we owned a lot of homes. I mean, we bought and sold homes.
23.
23.
wow. So your mother-in-law's advice then expanded into other circles.
My mother-in-law, when I was widowed, she had been widowed. Cheryl's dad died when Cheryl was 6. He was electrocuted in Guam after World War II, an accident. But so she stood at the bottom of our stairwell on Emerson Lane, looked up at me and said, Roger, you know, I made a mistake. I didn't get married again, and I wish I had. She said, and I hope you find someone who can fall in love. So that was a pretty powerful moment for me. And my whole attitude, I knew, because, you know, if we went out to dinner, she didn't like the colors I wore, or, you know, but everything was forgiven at that moment, and everything came back. There's
Okay,
lots
so-
of good stuff.
We're good.
Well, we're all waiting for your sequel about the sex that you left out.
I think Beverly's going to write that.
I don't think so.
Okay. Beverly, let's hear from you. You have your story about what makes me happy.
Yes. What makes me happy? Happiness now means to me contentment, satisfaction, less stress, and freedom to do the things I want to do. There is a saying, laughter is the best medicine. You can't be sad or depressed when you are laughing. I am happy when I am laughing. I wake up in the morning and look forward to reading the comics in the Free Press. Red Rover, Lola, Pickles, F-, and Non Sequitur. I like to watch TV shows that make me laugh. In the Middle, Big Bang, Sheldon, and Mom. I like movies that make me laugh, but these days there are very few. I like to go out and eat with friends and laugh, but that has been put on hold due to COVID-19. I look forward to memoir class each week. Fortunately, we have found a way to connect by email, Zoom, and social distancing at Spring Lake Park. I am lucky to be married to my best friend. Needless to say how much happiness he has brought into my life. We try not to take life too seriously. We laugh a lot. I feel happy when I have a project. When I started our genealogy project, I would get up in the middle of the night to find information about our ancestors. This was my first big project after retirement. We have traced the Stovers back to Switzerland in the 1400s. They came to Pennsylvania in 1709. My family, the Roys, came in 1710 to Breckenridge, New Jersey. Both of our mothers are Norwegian and came around 1850. My ancestry work resulted in a wonderful vacation in 2010. Scrapbooking makes me happy. It was so much fun to get home from a trip or an event and develop the pictures, then put them in books where I wanted to see the photos. I could find them. I have 40 scrapbooks, 20 photo boxes, and many envelopes of photos. It is fun to look at the old photos and remember people and places we have been. I am happy when I'm decorating our home for the seasons, fall, winter, spring, and summer. I also like to decorate for holidays, Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, Valentine's Day, and Easter. I like to plan birthday parties with a theme. When Roger turned 44, I put a sign in the yard that said, "Honk, it's Roger's birthday." That night, I hired a belly dancer. When he turned 65, I invited about 100 people for appetizers and drinks at the Holiday Inn. It was supposed to be a surprise, but that morning, Roger told me he was going to Bellevue to see his brother. I asked if he would be home, what time he would be home. He said, "I don't know, he's dying." So I had to tell him he needed to be back by 4 o'clock. Surprise parties are hard to plan, and I had to tell him on his 77th and 80th also. One time I made a cake for Roger's secretary at Alternative High School. Patsy was turning 40. I took a rectangular piece of sponge, about 9 by 13, and covered it with white frosting and decorated it with black frosting. She tried to cut it. The knife went down, but would not cut. I feel happy when I can do something special for someone. I feel happy when I have new things to look at. I like to go to auctions, antique stores, Salvation Army, and flea markets. Most of the happiness comes from the memories of the day, but also finding something I can use. I am happy when I find new projects. I look at Pinterest and many ideas come on Facebook. But when a project turns it from happiness or contentment to frustration, I will stop. Now you know what happened to my knitting. Although I am happy staying home, reading a book, watching TV, cleaning, or being alone, I do need some socialization every day. The key to my happiness is doing something. Doing things gives me something to talk about. I can feel good about myself if I'm helping others. Maybe to know happiness, you also need to know excitement and sadness. I have had plenty of both. I also believe you choose to be happy or not. There are times each day I have to choose to be happy.
Yay!
Questions or comments for Beverly?
Beverly, when you talk about choosing to be happy, do you monitor so that if you find yourself sliding into some unhappiness or sadness that you can tell yourself, I need a happy movie instead of a drama?
That's exactly what happens.
Okay.
If some kind of sad thought comes into my head, I shake my head and I say, no, you don't have time to be thinking about that. You're very lucky, you're very blessed. Now go out and enjoy what you have.
Good. Yeah.
And I have to do that a lot.
Beverly,
Yes?
I have to include Lexi in your happiness.
Oh, that's true.
She brings a lot of happiness to the group, and I know she brings a lot of happiness to you and Roger.
She does. She really does.
Lexi
We
is
had
Beverly's dog for people who don't know who Lexi is.
A cute little white dog.
when Roger and I were dating, we talked about dogs, and I told him I was allergic to dogs, but I like dogs. And he had a dog, Nipsey, who was a Sheltie, but I never got to meet it because I think maybe the day after he told me we had a school day, snow day, and somebody came and kicked him in the neck.
Oh, no.
And he took him to the vet, and so Nipsey was gone.
Hmm.
So the following summer, we got married, and we had agreed we would get a dog the next year. However, he came home before school started. We were married on August 5th, and I believe workshop started about the 22nd. And he comes home and he said, "Oh, I have a dog for us. One of our renters, I won't let her have the dog. And so I told her maybe we could take it." And I said, "Oh, no, We're not starting with a dog right when school starts. That would not be fair. So then in January, he comes and says, well, the veterinarian who knew Nipsey had just learned that Roger and I had gotten married. And so she wanted to give us a wedding present. So she gave us a dog that looked like Benji. David and I had been sick for a week. We were both sick in bed, but we went down to look at the dog. And of course, Benji came home. And I would say she might have ended up to be more my dog than anybody else's.
Yeah.
And then we got Boomer. Oh no, then we moved to the house on the lake and Benji just would not go potty outside. She had to go inside. And so Roger had to take her during his prep hour to the vet to be put down.
Blind too.
I was really upset. So we waited a couple of years, and then Chad wanted a black and white spotted dog. And so Roger had been out putting literature out. We had a February special election, and he stopped into the, what do you call that?
Lewis County Humane
Pet.
Society.
Humane Society. So he went in and there was a cute black and white spotted dog named Darcy. So he came home and we had a family discussion, and they were supposed to be closed on Monday. So we agreed David could go down first thing on Tuesday morning and get Darcy. However, at 1 o'clock, David comes into my room and says, Darcy was gone, and the only dog left was a black lab. I said, I don't want a big dog, I want a smaller dog. And so I said, well, you better go down and talk to Chad, because Chad really wanted a black and white spotted dog. So he went down to the second grade room where Chad was, and Chad agreed, and then he came back, and I was a little shocked, and I said, don't you think we need to talk to Dad about this? He said, don't worry, I already talked to Dad. If it's okay with you, it's okay with him. So needless to say, we got the black lab. It was a black lab and
Polynesian retriever.
retriever. And it was a really good dog, but it grew up to be really big. And we had him at Madison Lake, and so it turned out to be a really good dog. So then after Boomer had to be put down, then we got Lexus. Mom was in the nursing home. Roger was going to the shop with David. And I said, if Mom dies, I need a dog. So we found one that I wasn't allergic to, Lexus.
So
You've just
given us another memoir.
Yeah,
I was gonna say. I think I got that written as a memoir.
And
I'm sorry.
well, you
No.
did not have allergy problems with the other dogs?
No, we were really lucky. We went to Arizona and we went to a pet store, and I played with dogs. And the Havanese was the first dog. And we were in the playroom for 20 minutes, and I stuck my hands into her fur. I rubbed her fur against my face. Then we went to the movie. I didn't wash my hands, and I had no problem. The next day we went back and looked at a different dog, and I stuck my hands in and they came out full of hives. So we were thinking the Havanese I would not be allergic to, but we did buy it from a couple up north in Stevens Point. I don't know, someplace up north. And they brought it down to us. We met them in Faribault, and I wasn't allergic to her. So
Beverly, I wanted to ask one more question, and then we'll move on to my second poem. You mentioned that you were a prankster with this sponge cake.
yes.
What other kinds of pranks have you pulled? And do we have to all be on alert now?
Probably should have asked me that. But,
Well, my sister-in-law, I had two sponges decorated one sponge decorated the same as the real cake. So it was a beautiful cake when she was trying to cut it, and you wouldn't have known. And I think she actually did get a cut into the sponge, but I can't think of any other ones I've done other than.
Okay, well, we're going to be really cautious when you're making cake for somebody's birthday now. Okay, I'm going to move on because we've got several more people to read. My next presentation is on a poem called The Quilt of Life. I am a quilter, and for those of you who saw my butterfly quilt, I just got the word that it has been quilted and I can pick it up. So then I'll be working on the binding, and that project that took years will finally be done. Anyway, when Lisa Coons was in the process of dying, I somehow felt compelled to write this poem. Each of us pieces together a quilt of our lives. Each block has a story to tell of family, friends, experiences, places, and things that have been stitched together over the years. Our own life's quilt has many patches, many pieces, many colors, and many sizes, with kindness sewn into each piece, held together by threads of warmth, love, and happiness. Sometimes our quilts are crazy quilts, with scraps of our life stitched together in uneven pieces as life's journey takes us down an unfamiliar and winding road. At times, the quilt of life might seem to unravel, but it can always be stitched back together with love, patience, tears, and acceptance. So wrap yourself in the quilt of life. It is there to warm you and to embrace you as you move toward the final rest. Now I'll ask for 3 comments or questions.
That poem was really, I really like it, and to me it's the favorite of all I've ever heard you read. Really like that poem. Very, very well done.
Barbara.
I think when you've read the poem, this is the second time I've heard it. Both times I had the same reaction about the memories of our lives. As we get older, this memoirs group serves to help us stitch together the quilt of our memories. As we pick up that memory or this memory and we elaborate on it, or we connect it with someone else's memory that has overlap. So thank you. Yes, it's very good imagery about our lives and the lives of people that we care about.
Barb, you said that so well, you sounded like a teacher.
Linda.
Really, really well done. That's exactly what the feelings I had. Nice job, Linda.
Linda, were you able to share that with Lisa and Patty, or did you write it after she passed?
I think I wrote it and enclosed it in a card to both of them in Lisa's final days. I think that's what it was. It's hard to remember. That was in 2017, so it's been over 3 years since I wrote that, but I think I wrote it and then included it in a card to them.
I just think it's nice that you were able to share it with her at that time.
Well, I was thinking about her and everything she had contributed, and life's journey is crazy at times. And life's journey is sometimes unfamiliar, and sometimes it's a beautiful experience for us. Okay, let's move on to our next speaker, who is Kathy Atchley, and she is going to tell us how smoking saved her life.
Okay. As we journey through life, one of the lessons we learn is that few situations are black and white. Extenuating circumstances are ever present, creating nuanced shades of gray. Something seemingly indisputable, such as saying, Smoking is detrimental to your health may not be altogether true, thanks to the aforementioned extenuating circumstances. With that in mind, I will firmly attest, smoking saved my life. I see you looking askance at those bold words, and see Everett Koop is rolling in his grave. But I will again assert, smoking saved my life, and therein lies this tale. Thanksgiving has long been one of my favorite holidays. I love it all, the shopping, the cooking, creating a sumptuous feast for everyone. Who could resist the aroma of roasting turkey wafting from the kitchen? Forget ambrosia. This, to my thinking, is the food of the gods. Having said all that, however, in 2014, dear friends invited me to join in their family celebration. I knew not only would the food be delicious, but the assorted members of the group would be entertaining as well. My son had been invited to his girlfriend's parents, and no one else in my family was clamoring to host. So I hung up my apron and prepared to tackle a new role, guest. It was strange not to rise at 4 a.m. to get the bird in the oven, but I snuggled under my down comforter, reveling at the thought that someone else was handling that job today. I eventually got up. As I performed my morning ablutions, sipping a cup of coffee and reading the paper at a leisurely pace, I mused, for once, I would actually have time to apply some badly needed makeup. I might end up looking halfway decent if pictures were taken. Attempting to get everything and everyone to the table at the same time does not always result in the cook looking ready for a photo shoot. I might even appear without an apron. It was a strangely unsettling morning. Sitting down to watch the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade was a bit disconcerting. Oh, I'd get a quick peek here and there, but actually sitting down and watching? I don't know that I'd ever done that. There was no peeling, no slicing, no basting to be done. Dinner wasn't until 3. I had nothing to do. Needing to do something, I decided to go out and shovel the small drifts that had blown up against the garage door during the night. They were in no way an impediment to my leaving in the car, and in retrospect, this was not one of my wisest decisions. 2020 hindsight, right? I cleaned up the snow and was just about finished, dreaming of the culinary delights I would be enjoying later, and I must admit, thinking that maybe I had burned off enough calories to indulge in both pumpkin and French silk pie, when things took a turn for the worst. I'll admit I probably wasn't paying enough attention to my footing. I hit a slippery spot right inside the garage, and that was it. I hit the concrete floor like a ton of bricks, and I'm pretty sure I heard something break. It was me. Lying there in agony, I knew I was in deep trouble. The outside temp was in the teens, and my circulation is severely compromised by my scleroderma. It wouldn't be long before I turned into a human popsicle. I yelled for help, but no response. I knew most of the neighbors were out of town, and our alley is not well traveled. I tried to move, but waves of pain quashed that idea. I prayed to all the saints I knew, but I was fast losing hope. I could feel the cold seeping into me, laying sprawled on the icy cement. I raised my head and again called out for help, and my prayers were answered. I heard a voice say, "Where are you?" And as I yelled out, "Over here in the garage," my Savior appeared. My guardian angel had a pack of Marlboros instead of wings, but deliverance was at hand. The young man lived across the alley and had come out on the back steps to have a cigarette. I was miraculously delivered from a frozen fate by his craving for nicotine and a girlfriend who didn't allow smoking in the house. He raced to my side and quickly dialed 911. With an ambulance on the way, he called his girlfriend, who, as it turned out, was an RN, and they kept me safe in their care till the ambulance arrived. As I was processed through the ER, I kept thinking, this is not what I planned. The diagnosis came swiftly, a fractured left hip. I was pretty sure I had that figured out already. Because I take blood thinners, surgery had to be scheduled for the following day. So no sumptuous feast, no convivial friends, no pie, not even a bite, much less a second piece. I got chips of ice and thankfully excellent pain meds. Laying there, grateful that I'd been saved, but mourning what I was missing at the feast, I determined I would never again attempt to escape preparing the Thanksgiving meal. I'd rather tie on my apron and get up at 4 a.m. than end up on that icy garage floor. When I tell people this story of how smoking saved my life, I am reminded to be grateful for my many blessings, one of which is the ability to prepare a feast for Thanksgiving. I vow to never again complain about the work involved in the task, knowing that things could be so much worse. And if you ever find yourself lying on the garage floor with a broken hip, be very, very grateful that your neighbor has to go outside to smoke.
I enjoyed it as much the second time as the first time.
Oh,
and it really catches your attention because I was expecting that it had something to do with actual, saving your life with smoking. I mean, that was, it's just very well done.
Yeah.
When was this incident, Kathy?
2014.
2014. So you didn't have your cell phone on you?
No, I didn't think so.
Okay.
And then later I found out I did. It was in the pocket of my coat, but I didn't know it.
Okay.
Oh my goodness.
Do you take precaution? Like we had a next door neighbor who lived alone and had a heart attack and was unable to connect. And another neighbor found him 3 days later.
Oh.
And he had died. And for people who live alone at our age, do we take precautions?
Yeah.
So that, like, do you have a medic alert or one of those pendants that you can push a button and get people?
No, but if it's any time that there won't be people around, I always have my cell phone.
Okay.
So that, yeah.
Yeah, because that would really be scary to be hurt and not be able to access help.
Yeah.
How long were you down, Kathy?
Oh, probably 10 or 15 minutes.
Oh, okay.
So.
Kathy, I have a question.
Sure.
About how much time has passed between your hip injury and the writing of this memoir?
Oh, good question.
I wrote it when I joined the memoir group in 2018.
Yeah, probably.
I think I joined in 2018. It was when Linda was doing a presentation with Artie Frederick. And I knew Artie from working with her out at Hillcrest. And she collected turtles. And then this Linda Good person collected tiles and mugs. And so I went to this presentation. It was just delightful. And then afterwards, we were talking about our own collections. And Linda gave me her card and said, we have a memoir group. I think you'd really enjoy it. And it was the best thing I ever did. It's been just wonderful.
Thank you.
And that's our commercial message for the day.
I'll be collecting the quarter later, Linda.
And now we can look forward to Barbara Keating reading for us her piece on non sequitur and everyday life.
Okay. I laughed out loud when I read the non sequitur comic strip in January. See if I can show this up here. The drawing depicts two mountain climbers reaching a plateau. On a small mesa, a white bearded man sits lotus style in front of a cave. A sign next to the guru says, "All of life's answers except why one sock disappears in the laundry." The first mountain climber looks at the second and says, "Never mind." It struck me as particularly funny that day because it just so happened that was also the first day in my life that the two socks on my 2 feet did not match. When I got dressed that morning, I had looked wistfully in the little basket with unmatched socks in my dresser drawer. I put single socks in the basket in the hopes that their mates will show up eventually. Whatever is left at the time of spring or fall cleaning, however, gets thrown away. On the morning in question, I looked at the white sock and a beige sock. They were among my favorites before their mates had disappeared. I wasn't planning on going anywhere that day. Who would know? Who would care? I reminded myself that wearing two socks of slightly different colors was a positive act of resistance against my tendency towards perfectionism. It is good for me to loosen up a bit. Then I saw the cartoon and laughed. I posted it onto Facebook with the comment, "Admission, I am currently wearing unmatched socks whose mates disappeared in the laundry. They are nice, soft, warm, almost new socks. I like them and I refuse to throw them away." Kathy, a high school friend living in Australia, commented, "Who wears matched socks?" I answered, "Thanks, I'm not alone?" She replied, "Definitely not. I've not worn matched socks for years and I don't care." Then Judith, a Twin Cities friend, commented, "Not hardly. The divorce rate among good socks is very high. I count it semi-formal dress if my socks really match." That did it. These affirmations gave me permission. I now wear those socks each week when I plan to stay home. I took the next step a few weeks later by wearing unmatched silk sock liners going out in public. Not only was one liner white and the other ivory, they were of different designs. They were, of course, hidden under matching knee-high socks, also hidden in my matching knee-high boots. I had a passing thought about the warning to always wear clean underwear without holes, just in case you are in an accident and wind up in an emergency room. Oh well, as long as the ER staff see unmatched socks as a sign of common sense frugality and not one of senility. I am now eyeing another two socks in the unmatched socks basket. One being blue and the other black is less of a problem than the black being knee-high and the blue being of crew sock length. Even for home, that's going too far. Maybe next year. And,
Love it.
and my socks today are both black, but they do not match.
Good. Mine either.
Comments for Barbara? Or
I have
questions?
one. I just want you to know, Barbara, that Everett and Owen, our grandchildren who are 7, have socks like that too. And I thought it was just a trend that was starting, but I'm excited to change to unmatched socks.
My sister and brother-in-law used to get a lot of attention for their unmatched socks. So they bought like, well, I don't even know, 25, 30 pairs of purple socks. They never had unmatched socks again because they only wore the purple socks. They didn't have to make any effort to keep them together. They just washed them, and they always had a drawer filled with purple socks. So
Great idea.
I had never thought about the divorce rate among socks.
That's a good line, good line.
That was my favorite.
Okay, we're going to move on to our final reading of the day, and that is a piece that Laura Bealey wrote very recently, but it's very powerful, so I'm eager to have her share it with everybody again.
okay. I voted. I voted with the remembrance of those who battled for this right. I voted with anxious concern for those who still struggle for this right. This right to vote is the essence of our democracy. This right to vote is the core of our democracy. This right to vote must meet all obstacles so everyone can have a voice. Our democracy is both strong and fragile. Our democracy is threatened. Our democracy is in jeopardy. Will we land safely after this bumpy ride through alternative facts, fake narratives, and bald-faced lies? Inside each of the ovals I darkened is my deep affection for the honor of voting. Inside each of the ovals I darkened is my commitment to decency. Inside each of the ovals I darkened is so much more than ink. The ovals on my ballot are filled with my hopes for our future. The ovals on my ballot are filled with my passion to respect the dignity of all. The ovals on my ballot are filled with my intentions to do what is right and just. My ballot wants to grow empathy, compassion, and justice. My ballot wants to scream out, there is no right way to do the wrong thing. My ballot wants to sing, we the people.
Thank you, thank you.
That's beautiful.
It's
Yeah.
even better this time.
Yeah.
I agree.
Well, I didn't have my mask on,
Oh.
and I wasn't quite as emotional because I had written it, I had voted, and I had written it, you know, in the like 3 days after that, and it was choking me up.
Yeah.
Laura, I just finished voting before I came online for Zoom, and your words were in my head as I darkened those ovals.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Thank
I
you.
went.
And Laura, you gave me courage to have yard signs. I've always felt, since I live on this, you know, a less traveled road, that the sign should be out on a well-traveled road. And they came to my door and asked if it was okay for them to put this one sign, and it says, "Defend democracy, vote Democratic." And I said, sure, put it out there. And so then there were neighbors that were going to get signs, and they put the two, they put a Fionn one and they put a Biden-Harris, but they put the one about defend democracy on their porch, and then they could decide. Well, that got taken. Somebody took it. So, and it's not a big neighborhood, you know, I mean, and it wasn't in the ground. It was on the porch leaning against a post, and
Wow.
it's gone. So, but I think you spurred me on. I felt like I really had to stand up and witness this crucial election. So thank you.
What
you.
bothers me the most is it can't be kids just pulling up signs. It's Republicans pulling up Democratic signs. Because if it was just kids being kids, they would take them all down.
Mm-hmm.
And And I also don't think they would just do it. I think they got to be getting paid or something. I don't know.
Did you?
I never
Did
thought
you?
of that.
It can
Yeah.
actually
Did you
be-
see the story that was on Facebook that the man was really irritated and was posting because someone kept taking his signs, and turns out it was his 10-year-old daughter. And someone wrote as a comment, "I'd love to give that girl a hug." And I said, "I wish we could give her a scholarship."
Laura, I want to again encourage you to send it in as a letter to the editor.
I'm going to.
Because I really want the people of the community to read that. And when it gets published, I'm going to post it onto Facebook because I want my friends. It is so, and yours too, Linda, that you shared with us about voting, inspired by Laura's. We need to support each other in this throughout this election. And you both articulated what so many of us feel and don't have your articulation skills. But anyway, it was a beautiful job, both of you, on your articles or what you wrote about voting. And I hope to
Very important message.
I appreciated Laura's because it was so emotional. It was bringing tears to my eyes. And I've never thought of voting as being emotional. And that really put that punch behind it that I just so appreciate.
It was the exclamation mark for all the things that have been posted on Facebook and articles that we have read in the paper about things that are going on and people not caring.
I am very concerned, and I hope that people will remember what a privilege and an honor it is. Last election, only 46% of the the eligible people voted, and I think that's sad. In Australia, it's mandatory. You vote.
What happens if you don't?
It's a citation that's cost about $15.
Okay.
I have a friend who lives in Australia.
Yeah.
And I asked her that once. And you get a ticket, like, a parking ticket, and it's about $15. So you can choose not to vote.
Well, for me, it actually took, and I probably have been the same as you, Linda, in the past. I'd be busy, I'd be working. I'm like, oh, I got to get over there and vote, and I'd run in and it was important to me. But this time, of course, I'm not running around and I'm sitting at home. I'm also feeling like, what can I do? What can I do? What can I do? And for me, it elevated the voting to, this is the biggest and most important thing that I can do. And the other stuff is after that. And so that's it, it got to me too.
I also like
written an emotional poem, but you weren't emotional.
Yeah, that's true.
I like that you began it with the right to vote and the ongoing fight to vote. That was a good start for me. I've just been very interested in the way women got the right to vote. That I think they just had a 100-year anniversary or something. There's been a lot about it, and I think that also is motivating. So,
and the word I chose to use for that was those who battled for this right, because they battled for 100 years. And then the next one I put in, I voted with anxious concern for those who still struggle. There's, that the struggle is somehow different than a battle, though. Well, maybe same. It's.
Did anybody see the 60 Minutes?
Yeah, I was going to say
about the
that waited 30 years. Yeah. Yeah, that was
And-
very
We're
emotional.
certainly demonstrating what happens in the memoir group when we have a topic, and it just goes all over the place and inspires us and engages us in conversations. So it isn't just about what we write, it's about how others respond to it too.
Mhm.
And being able to hear two sides.
Mhm. Very true.
Or
I
did
was
you
gonna
see
say-
60 Minutes?
Yes.
Yes, I did.
Okay, so you got to see the felon that, and then to think they got the right, and then to think they took it
Took
away.
it away again, yes.
And then they figured out how to pay, and now the Republican Secretary of something is saying, no, it's not okay for other people to pay for that. Something I want to mention what Ted did throughout the month of August, and I think he's continued this. As you know, Ted drives Lyft. Well, he is passing out voter registration cards to all of his customers or his riders. And then throughout August, he gave them a souvenir dollar, Susan B. Anthony dollar, to recognize, to thank them for voting. He didn't tell them how to vote. He's telling them, please register and please vote. And then he's giving them a metal dollar to thank them for it and to remember Susan B. Anthony and the women who fought 72 years for our women's right to vote.
I think also that we are very privileged to live in Minnesota, where our government works quite well. You know, having served as an election judge, it's a very detailed process, and I was trying to reassure some of my friends on Facebook, this does not happen lightly. You know, we swear, we take an oath that we will uphold, you know, our duties, and we swear that this is going to be a fair and impartial election, you know, and people, we sign our names. So, you know, you almost feel like one of the founding fathers must have felt as they pledged their lives in their sacred honor. Do we have that anymore? I hope so. I hope that everybody remembers that it is a sacred honor to vote.
We had Patty O'Connor for years taking care of Mooney. I've forgotten the title, but she did a wonderful job. And our Secretary of State, if you watch the news, he's been hitting every news program, explaining how it works in Minnesota, doing a wonderful job.
Minnesota has one of the highest turnout rates of voters in the nation. We're either the first or the second in terms of turnout rates, election after election.
And we should be, I want to mention that school board, 17 candidates.
Yes.
17 people dedicated to serving for virtually no pay and really committed to the quality education. I'm really proud of that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I want to
I want to bring us back because we're in our last few minutes. So I wanted to ask Mary if you would like to make a comment about what you heard today, because you've been pretty quiet.
I think I took a little snooze during your reading. So
Oh, that's good. I think that's a compliment.
with my lowered eyelids, you probably couldn't even tell it because that's just the way I live now. I really enjoy listening to, and I'm making a list of things I could write about, but I haven't written anything yet. So I appreciate you letting me do this. And, you know, a lot of times we can't really talk about politics. It's interesting to watch you, and I feel really heavily about it. My comment on that would be, it came to my attention, a woman I worked with finally one day, she said she had never voted in her whole life. And she's deceased now. She died not that long ago, last year. And then I have a girlfriend who also said that, and she was getting primed up to do this. And, but she still got a California driver's license. And when she went over there, things did not go well when she went to get things changed. And So this has been good today. I'm like, I'm probably one of the few people that even know that she's here. She's even going to vote the way I would hope she might. And I'm like, gosh darn it. And things didn't go well at the driver's license place. So
Oh, no.
maybe I'll get a little motivated. But that was shocking to me. I mentioned it to Don last night, and my Don served 4 years in the Navy. And he said, my question would be, do either of these, did they ever have people and their families in military service? Because he's pretty heavy after 4 years in a submarine. He said, I'd never miss voting. But anyway, our ballots are at the back counter. I think my intent is to fill it out, and I'm going to take it right into the courthouse. I'm not going where the judges are and so on, which is what he did the last time. So thank you all. There was an article in the Mankato magazine, I think it's a couple years ago, and it was about the relief that people got when they like went to the Moondogs games, and maybe they forgot about the horror of what's going on in our nation. And the line in there that really struck me, which I can tell most you would appreciate, was most democracies do not last more than 200 years. And we're in it, and we're in it for the big fight. I get almost chills as I say that, because I don't think people realize where we could be in another 4 years. And one of the reasons I'm tired is, of course, I had to get up this morning and listen to the news. I heard about the tax returns, and I'm like, oh boy, if you knew me, you're out of bed, and I'm going, I want to hear every word they have to say about it. So thank you very much, Laura. Thanks for speaking out. So.
Well, we're glad you're here, Mary, and hope someday you will join us.
Well, I probably will. I make one final comment. My hairdresser's so upset about it. She's actually taking the 4th of November off because she fears if things go badly the way she doesn't want them. She said, I'm not even going to be able to get out of bed. So there's no sense of me doing any hair that day. I'm like, oh, don't you dare say that. But,
I'm curious who iPhone is. I only see iPhone.
Well, who is that?
Do you have a comment for us, iPhone?
Jan, I think, is iPhone. I haven't
Oh,
seen
that's
Jan.
Oh, I can see Jan.
There.
I can see Dan's name.
No,
Yeah,
it's somebody named iPhone.
Yeah, I don't know who that
I'm
is.
trying to remember, was Ag Griffith's iPhone last time?
I don't know.
Well, and they're not muted either, so they,
We just
Carol, are you there? Carol?
I don't know.
It's not Edna, is it? Or Don?
Well, I just thought
It's Big Brother.
I'd like to try. I'd like to try to include everybody in some way. And Margaret, you were pretty quiet today. Do you have any comments, Margaret? Nope, she's just shaking her head. She's not even going to unmute. Well, I think that's it for our program for today. And I think we're pretty close to closing time. I don't have my watch on.
We are at 3:29.
Oh, wow.
Perfect.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone. See you tomorrow.
Thank you, everybody, for coming.
Bye.